All right, so I have a bird, and my bird is going to be downstairs whistling and whooping and hollering because I'm up here and he can't see me. And he can hear me talking, and whenever he can't see me and he can hear me talking, he wants to know what's going on. So he's going to be chattery and whistly the whole time I'm up here. So please just ignore that. Okay, so with what I was saying, your life verse can be extremely helpful, and it can actually be employed by the devil to screw you up. And so that said, our life verses, a lot of the time, those of us that say, you know what, that is my guiding light. It's one of those things that makes it so that we are, we're inclined to do, it encourages us and tells us that we're on the right track a lot of the time. Now, when I was reading through the Gospels a little bit ago, Jesus went to the top of this temple, and the devil said, hey, throw yourself down. And he quotes a scripture. And Jesus replies with a counter scripture that basically said, that basically it was like, you got half an idea, devil, but here's the whole idea, and I need to not throw myself off this temple. Sometimes, well, it got me to thinking, what if it was Joe? What if it was Joe who had been fasting for 40 days, a little bit woozy, emotionally unstable, because that's how you get when you've been fasting. You get emotionally strained. And so Joe is on top of this temple, and his life verse, because he's prone to not taking activity, is this verse about taking action and that God's angels would support him. When I was a kid, we used to have this game on the playground. And we had this playground structure, and this was the 80s. And I don't know what they expected us to do with this playground structure, but this is what we did. We had, it was a log about this big around that was built into this giant log structure. And it was about the size of a diameter of a telephone pole, a small telephone pole. And it was about, 15, 20 feet long. It's hard to gauge when you're an adult and you're trying to remember being a kid. But it was, what we did with it was one boy got on this end, one boy got on this end, and they came in the middle and they tried to slap each other off the pole, right? So it was just trying to knock each other off balance, and whoever fell off lost, and whoever stayed on continued to be the champ. And then the next boy up, and then you just go and go and go, and that's how we'd spend our recess. With that, if the devil can get us to do one of two things, then he wins. Take wild, crazy action that isn't the will of God, or take no action and don't do the things that you were called to do. If he can get us to do one of those two things, then he wins. That's his bag. With respect to, with respect to not the obvious, right? Which would be run down a life of sin, run down a life of doing those things that are directly offensive to God. If it's just a matter of you're living a holy life, you're not doing anything overtly sinful, then the other way that the devil can win is to get us to do nothing and to get us to do something wild and crazy. Now, with respect to our life verse, if you crank that thing up, what does that do? Does that get you taking wild, crazy action? Or does that get you sitting and thinking and thinking and thinking? My job is to think, and to be responsible, and in the end, do nothing, commit to nothing because, I can't actually commit to something because I need to be waiting, or I need to be rethinking this thing through, or I need to be, or you do wild, crazy stuff all the time because, man, that's what the prophets did. The prophets did wild, crazy stuff. And I can point to things that happened in the book of the Exodus, and I can point to things that happened here and there, and I can say, I've got biblical passages that I can look to and say, hey, God's a God of wild, crazy action. And then these other people can say, no, 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 God's the God of methodical, structured things, and he changes course all the time. You got to be waiting, and doing nothing, because and then this guy's confused because he's got the fruit of chaos, and this guy's confused because he's got the fruit of, well, inactivity. And and the thing is that we need to be looking at what is the counter, or what is the full counsel of God. And I think that we should be focused on having two scriptures that are our life verse, that counter the other one, in the way that one might say, don't take action, wait, think, versus do, go. I think that we're best if we do with wise counsel, commit to a course and stay with it until I'm told to change course. Quit with the waiting, quit with the thinking, quit with the waiting and the thinking, and on and on and on and on and on. Commit to the course because it's the right course. That, I think, is, part of it was also inspired because I was reading through some passages, and, well, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so that's what I got. I think that if we did that, we would be way more balanced in our approach. We would take thoughtful, wise action instead of being thoughtful and not taking action, or taking action and not being very thoughtful. All right, that's what I got. I will catch you later. If this is helpful, don't be shy about sharing it directly with a message or whatever, because that's what I'm here for. I've only got 45, 50 friends on Facebook, and that's the way I like it. Actually, I've got too many friends on Facebook. I'm not a big fan of people that don't participate or put anything up that is their own thoughts or any of that sort of thing. They frustrate me. But anyway, regardless, I'll catch you later. Bye.